Hey guys, how you doing? Today we'll be investigating a critical question. What is conservatism? I picked up this collection of excerpts and essays the other day for a real cheap bargain. It's called American Conservatism, Reclaiming an Intellectual Tradition. I thought it could be interesting and useful to make videos every now and then going over and discussing various essays from the book. So we'll begin our journey in this video by looking at Conservatism Defined by Russell Kirk. First, a little background information on Russell Kirk. Kirk was an American political thinker who heavily influenced the modern conservative movement. His most famous book was The Conservative Mind, which traced the historical development of conservatism. But not only that, Kirk also dabbled in fiction, publishing several ghost stories in the course of his life. Kirk was a major acolyte of the 18th century British statesman Edmund Burke. Burke, best known for his Reflections on the Revolution in France, was a sharp critic of the French Revolution. In Kirk's view, Burke was the intellectual father of conservatism. I won't go into too much more detail about Burke here. Maybe we'll cover his book someday. Anyway, final fun facts about Russell Kirk before we look at the text. Apparently, he hated television, and he refused to drive cars because they were what he called mechanical Jacobins. Alright, so Kirk's Conservatism Defined is actually an excerpt from his introduction to another collection of essays from 1982. For simplicity's sake, I'm not really going to talk about any other work besides the one that is the direct focus of the video. We don't need to get overly complicated by considering if an author changed his mind later on or something. Kirk opens his essay with a rather humorous citation of the Devil's Dictionary, which defined conservative as a statesman who is enamored of existing evils, as distinguished from the liberal, who wishes to replace them with others. Fair play. From here, Kirk explains the historical roots of conservative thought. Originally, the word conservative did not have a political connotation. It was broadly used to signify protection or preservation. Nevertheless, Kirk allows that there has arguably always been an embryonic conservative disposition, as we understand it today. However, in his conception, conservatism as a truly meaningful body of political tradition only emerged in reaction to the radicalism of the French Revolution. For that reason, Kirk holds that every modern-day conservative is a descendant of Edmund Burke. Burke never used the term conservative himself, but his immediate disciples did, and by the 1840s in America, the word was used to denote a policy of moderation. Across the pond, amidst the several European revolutions of the 19th century, conservatism developed as an opposition to the excess ideology of liberalism. But what is conservatism? What does it actually stand for? Well, in Kirk's own words, strictly speaking, conservatism is not a political system, and certainly not an ideology. Instead, conservatism is a way of looking at the civil social order. Right, so when you consider liberalism, not the party, you think of things like the Age of Enlightenment, the social contract, individual rights, the rule of law, etc. In other words, a defined set of normative principles. Liberalism is universal in the sense that the ideas it advocates for are, generally speaking, the same across the globe. This is not the case with conservatism. Being conservative can mean different things in different countries and times. Conservatives in the US, India, Japan, and the UK are not the same. They are preserving different institutions and traditions. What does that imply, though? Does that mean that there is no coherent substance behind conservatism? Hold your horses, partner. Kirk hears your concern and replies that, although it is no ideology, conservatism may be apprehended reasonably well by attention to what leading writers and politicians, generally called conservative, have said and done. Conservatism, to put the matter another way, amounts to the consensus of the leading conservative thinkers and actors over the past 2 centuries.
I mean, it's a little circular, but it's not useless.
Next, Kirk lays out 6 first principles that roughly describe conservative thought. They are as follows. Number 1, acceptance of a metaphysical or transcendent order. Number 2, acknowledgement of the social spirit of continuity. Number 3, consideration of the wisdom of our ancestors. Number 4, prudence. Number 5, the rejection of conformity and reverence to variety. And number 6, knowledge that man is imperfect and the futility of utopia. Let's break these down. As to the first one, about a metaphysical order, what Kirk had in mind was an independent moral force to which we should align and navigate human society under. This axiom may be the most difficult to grant, for the other political traditions. On the second point, about the social spirit of continuity, conservatives are aware that the ideas and institutions around them did not come from nothing. There was a long process to get where we are today, and, just as you carry your ancestors within you, likewise does the social configuration known as civil society stand in relation to its past. This leads nicely into the third principle about the wisdom of our ancestors. Kirk neatly explained it as, conservatives sense that modern men and women are dwarfs on the shoulders of giants, able to see farther than their ancestors only because of the great stature of those who have preceded us in time. The individual is foolish, but the species is wise, Burke declared. Moving on to the principle prudence, this is an easy one. Conservatives are cautious. They believe in carefully weighing the pros and cons before enacting change, and of comprehensively assessing risks and benefits, as opposed to uncritically submitting to the sudden and mercurial. The idea behind the fifth point is that there naturally is, and probably ought to be, a diversity in human traits and abilities. We are not all the same, and in that sense, we are unequal. And so, to some pragmatic extent, hierarchies and differences in material conditions must exist. Any attempt to compel a complete egalitarianism onto civilization would be to constrain mankind and condemn him to a state of perpetual mediocrity. Now we have arrived at the sixth and final principle, that of imperfectibility. It's really quite simple. Man being imperfect, no perfect social order ever can be created. Human beings are flawed. And, unfortunate as it may be, we cannot engineer a perfect society. The imperfect is incapable of creating the perfect. Among the gravest evils ever known is that pernicious lie that if we cast away the moral, the social, and the institutional safeguards of today, we may bring about a heaven on earth tomorrow, rather than the utter annihilation of man, an infinitely more probable outcome. Alright, here are the 6 principles back on screen together for you once again. In the final pages of Kirk's essay, he attempts to sum up everything nicely for the reader. If one requires a single sentence, why, let it be said that for the conservative, politics is the art of the possible, not the art of the ideal. And so there you have it. If you like this video, you can show your support by hitting the subscribe button and leaving a comment. What did you think of Russell Kirk's analysis of conservatism? We will certainly look into other attempts to define it in the near future, so stay tuned. But for now, thank you for watching. I hope you have a good one.